What's up everyone, my name is Sam and welcome back to the channel. And today I want to talk to you about a topic that is kind of a buzzword, a buzz topic around the knife community. And that's knife steel and super steels and things like that. So before we get into it, full disclaimer, I'm not an expert in this, but I just have some opinions that I would like to share with you. So if you would like to hear more about them, just stick around. Now, as we get into it, I do want to just kind of touch on who this video is for. This video is for someone that is potentially just brand new to the world of knives, and they are just gathering as much information as possible about, blade materials and handle materials and different types of lockups and all that kind of thing. And they stumble across knife steels and it can get overwhelming, right? So this is the goal of this video is to have a very basic level understanding and thought process behind choosing a blade steel that might be for you. Who this video is not for is someone like a metallurgist, a professional knife sharpener, someone that is very knowledgeable, because this isn't presenting any type of new information to them. But you can still watch if that is you, and I hope you enjoy this video. But again, this is not for you. This is for an average consumer. Now, one thing that I think is really great about knife steel where it is now from where it started decades ago is that there are options. And you can see that some people see that as a good thing. I do. But some people think it's a bad thing because then people get hung up on it, which maybe you have gotten hung up on it. That's why you're watching this video. But I'm here to tell you that that is a good thing to have options, because you're not gonna get bored with it. You're always gonna find something that you enjoy about different steels that you might not have before. But what I also do want to make very clear is at the end of the day, it just needs to cut, right? So things like S30V, which at one point, let's even go farther back, VG10, D2, those were at one time super steels. They were amazing. They're still great steels, but it's really interesting and cool to see the leaps and bounds in that science and metallurgy to get us to the point where people are looking at that stuff as obsolete, or whatever word you want to use to describe them. But ultimately, at the end of the day, you need it to cut. Now, when I go back to the word value, what is important to you in a knife, there are added factors, right? How long does it stay sharp? How tough is it? Does it rust really easily? Those are factors that you need to add, you need to look into as you buy a knife. If you live in Florida by the sea, the ocean, where there's a lot of salt in the air and things like that, it's humid. Corrosion resistant knives are going to be really important to you. They should be, I would think. They would be to me. Again, I'm not going to tell you what should be important to you, but that would be important to me. And I live, hours away from it, and it's still very important to me. I still live in the South where it's very humid. It's hot in my house right now. So corrosion resistance is an important thing for me, at least. And so maybe it's an important thing for you, but let's say you're working at a job where you actually do use your knife quite often to either break down cardboard boxes or open up packages. Edge retention and toughness is going to be really important to you. Most likely, I would assume, because you just need to not worry about it going dull super quick and not being able to do your job or breaking or chipping or any of that. So there's these trade-offs, and then you ask yourself, well, is there a steel that has everything? And the answer is really no, there's not. There's always a trade-off when you're going for certain things in a knife steel. Now, there are things that are kind of balanced, relatively towards one thing or towards all, those three things, but you're never going to have a fully corrosion resistant, to the utmost degree, and it's going to stay super sharp for super long, and it's, you can run it over with a semi. There's just not really anything like that. So you have to ask yourself those questions of, what's important to me. Now, if you're sitting here asking yourself, Sam, are you going to present us with data, numbers, things like that? The answer is no, I'm not. Again, I'm not an expert, but I will point you to the direction of knifesteelnerds.com, where you can find a ton of information on just almost every single blade steel you can imagine. I think it's almost all there. I would recommend going there. That's where I've gathered a lot of information and have been able to make progress towards figuring out my favorite 3 blade steels. So again, knifesteelnerds.com, I'll link it down below. That's pretty much the best place to start and end. I do want to give you my 3 favorite knife steels based on use. And again, it'll all come back to using blade steels. Now, this isn't me telling you to go get these blade steels. That's not the case at all. You have to make your own decision and decide for yourself. What is important to me, going back to that theme of figuring out what do I value in a knife, the first thing is corrosion resistance. I don't like rusty knives. I don't really know anyone that does, but on the flip side to that, there are people that really enjoy knives with patinas, and there is a difference between a patina and a rust. Rust is bad, patina is just patina. That's just the best way I know how to describe it. And the second thing I value the most is edge retention. Now, toughness, again, is very important to me, but it's usually those two things that I look to the most, because I'm not out there abusing and beating the crap out of my knives. I just don't do that. My job doesn't require that. My life doesn't require that. So the first blade steel that I would recommend actually is a tougher knife, but it's really great, is Crewwear. I love Crewwear. It's great. It has a really high toughness. If you go to knifesteelnerds.com and look at the chart, they have there is a chart for both tool steels and stainless steels as far as toughness, edge retention, and corrosion resistance. So Crewwear, it ranks up there pretty high at a toughness of 8. It has I would say a good edge retention of 5 and a corrosion resistance of 5.5 because it is a tool steel. It's gonna be a little bit more prone to things like patina, staining, and rusting. But I have learned how to take care of things as an adult should, and someone that buys expensive objects, you should learn how to take care of them. So I keep them oiled. I keep them just well maintained. At the moment, I only have 2 knives in Crewwear. I have a paramilitary 2, which I think is the best option for a paramilitary 2. If you were to say which one should I get, I would say go get the PM2. And then I also have a Bradford Guardian 3.5, or maybe it's a 3. It's a Guardian 3, I believe. And it's sheep's foot with Crewwear. I love that. It's a nice little fixed blade. I don't have many other fixed blade knives in my collection. The next blade steel that I really enjoy, that I have a decent amount of, and I probably think it's the most that I have in my collection of that steel, is MagnaCut. MagnaCut it's buzzy. It's a buzzword. A lot of places, I'll be honest, are putting stuff out in MagnaCut, and I think there's good reason, but I think it is also just very hyped right now. But again, I think there is some justification behind it. It has a toughness of 7, so you're gonna get a really good, tough knife. But it has an edge retention that's about the same as Crewwear at 5. But it has an incredible amount of corrosion resistance. It's just almost at the top of the chart, and that chart is just to give you an idea. It's not the actual numerical value of the toughness. It's just to give you a rating based on tests. So I like MagnaCut, and what I will say real quick is a lot of this stuff is relative to heat treats, and I'm not going to get into that. Again, I'm not an expert, but I do know heat treats do affect a lot of the properties of these steels, so you have to keep that in mind. But MagnaCut, from what my experience has been, it's been great for just normal everyday tasks, which is what 90% of us are doing with our pocket knives, if anything. And what is probably my favorite go-to blade steel or knife in this steel is S90V. I think it is really just good for everyday tasks for me. It doesn't have a highest toughness rating at 3.5, but it holds an edge really well. So that means when I'm opening packages up, it's going to hold up really well. It's up there towards the top of the chart. And it also has a really good corrosion resistance value. So it's not as high as MagnaCut, but it's definitely higher than Crewwear. And my ultimate goal in figuring out what my favorite blade steels are was to kind of cover the bases, the shortcomings of the other knives. So for example, with S90V, it's not super tough. So if I knew I was going to a job site one day to just do whatever at work, I would probably grab a Crewwear or MagnaCut, because if I have to, cut into some drywall, I'm probably not going to do that with S90V. But let's say it's going to be raining for the next 5 weeks. I hope not. I would grab probably my Roosevelt or something in MagnaCut almost every day. But again, I could also grab S90V if I just knew I was going to be shredding paper for some reason or opening packages or whatever. S90V is going to slice right through it and hold its edge. So that's why I landed on those 3, because they could cover each other in their shortcomings. So as we wrap up, I want to acknowledge that I'm very fortunate to have some of these knives. Not everyone is able to afford them or get lucky enough to be able to buy one. I was able to get my Roosevelt through the lottery. I was lucky, I got to pay table. But you know, I know people that have been playing for a long time, they still haven't gotten one. So I acknowledge that I got lucky, and it is a privilege to be able to, own some of these knives. And the reality is, I could be fine with S30V. It would work, it would be great, and it would serve its purpose. But I also like collecting knives. I like collecting and using. There's nothing wrong with that. We could get into the whole debate of user versus collector, whatever. That's not what this video is for. But this video, going back to it, is hopefully you're able to start asking these questions to yourself of what do I value? If you have a big collection and you're overwhelmed by how much you have, it's like, what do I like about this knife? This out of the 12 PM2s I own, why do I like this one more than the rest of them? And that's what I had to do that. And that's where I've pretty much narrowed it down to 2 that I really like to carry. And then my third one is actually S30V because my wife gave it to me. And so I love that knife. If I had to pick between the 3 of them, I'm going to pick the one my wife gave me because 1, my wife gave it to me. And then 2, S30V is great. It is perfectly fine. It's not hard to sharpen, won't rust super easy. It's a great blade steel. But those are just my thoughts on blade steels and this whole philosophy of how much is too much. There's way too many options, things like that. There are a lot of other opinions out there, and I'm not gonna say any of them are wrong because everyone's allowed to have their own opinion on this subject, but I just wanted to share mine. I hope you enjoyed this video, and let me know down below, do you have like a go-to, I love this blade steel, because it just does everything for me. I know a lot of people that love K390 because it is just a laser through some stuff. It'll cut forever. And maybe I should get some K390. I've never had it. Maybe that would be a favorite steel of mine if I got it. I don't know. But let me know down in the comments, what's your favorite blade steel? What do you like to use? And also, what is your favorite holiday? Just keep it a little fun. What's your favorite holiday and why? I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.